Welcome back to the Bandwidth Tapes. I'm Brad Williams, and today I'm sitting down with singer, songwriter, and educator Janie Barnett. Janie's story is a fascinating one, starting in the greater Washington, D.C. area, moving through the New England folk scene, and then landing in New York at a time when everything had a little revolutionary edge to it. We talk about what it means to build a life in music without compromising your artistic integrity, how session singing and studio work can open doors, and what Janie learned from being a background vocalist in rooms with some of her heroes, including a truly unforgettable Saturday Night Live experience with Rickie Lee Jones. We also go deep on Janie's ambitious project Under My Skin, where she reimagines Cole Porter through an acoustic, Americana lens with an unbelievable cast of collaborators, plus what she's seeing now as a longtime Berklee instructor in an era of constant content and social media pressure. It's a conversation about craft, community, and making music that lasts. Here's my conversation with Janie Barnett.
Whenever I get you right in front of me, you know I'm gonna get you believing in destiny. And then I'll have to walk you through what's lost and what's caught. Just let that screen door slam, babe, 'cause life is long and then it's not. When we do this, when we do sit with one another, fingertips press one to the other. Baby, life's a mess, but it's what we got. You see that game clock rolling down, it's best you take a shot, 'cause life is long and then it's not.
Janie, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so happy to get your invitation.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. I've been listening to your amazing singing, just blown away with your talent, reading your information, reading your bio, and first and foremost, a big thanks to Mr. Paul Gazzone for making the connection between us.
Yes. Paul, I've known Paul for so many years, really kind of most of my career. And we've watched each other and collaborated, and I think the world of him. He's very multi-talented and such a nice guy.
Yeah, he certainly is. I've been so fortunate to make the connection with him. We did a show with the Bacon Brothers, probably 7 years ago, and I reached out to him and told him who I was, and we reconnected. And yeah, after we talked, he said, "You absolutely need to talk with Janie," and sent me your website. And I was like, immediately was like, yeah, that has to happen. So, so thrilled. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to, I guess, just kind of, for my listeners, get to know you better. And I'm just going to ask a lot of questions about, I guess, your origin story, if you will, and just this amazing career that you have, and then kind of dig in and talk about some of the cool things that you've done. I would love to hear about how it all started. So you're from Virginia originally?
I'm from Virginia. I'm from sort of what we call the DMV, the greater Washington area. So, you have one foot in the South and 1 foot in the cosmopolitan world. And it's actually a big, people don't really realize that whole area is a big music area. But I was doing music from a really young age, super fortunate that my parents saw my interest and, encouraged me and gave me lessons and let me run off to bluegrass festivals when I was, and go to the Cellar Door in Washington underage, and all sorts of things that, you have to do. I left the area in my teens to go north. It was kind of always a mecca to end up in New England. I went to school there for a while, and then I was really kind of intrigued by the New England folk scene, and that was in the New Hampshire area, and then in the Boston area. I was kind of trying to make my way.
Yeah.
There. And there were so many great folkies. And my origin in DC involved a lot of summers at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival. And I was exposed to a lot of beautiful roots music. I always named John Hartford as one of my, big influences, because he was doing kind of what I feel like I'm doing now, which is to, take roots music and sort of twist it a little, or take any music you want to do and twist it a little. And he was one of the originators of that. So anyway, I got to New England and started doing a lot of different kinds of gigs, but a lot of them were girl with her acoustic guitar and trying to write songs. I was in a wonderful, my first band up there was called Smoochin'.
Great name.
We did a lot of reggae and Little Feat and, stuff with a lot of rhythm, but a lot of heart. And for some reason, I'm not sure whether this was a great idea, because all my folky friends from New England have done so beautiful in that world and have basically they rose to the top in that world. But I was just hungering for something more. I had a lot of other skills. So I moved to New York. I left the New England scene and moved to New York to just sort of figure out how I could stretch my skills and, wear some different hats and explore what other options I had besides being, a girl with her guitar. Yeah. Which now, of course, I love to do, is be alone on stage, girl with her guitar. But So, and I've been in New York a long time. And then there were some surprises when I got here. Yeah. I don't know if I should just keep rambling on about what happened. But
let me interject and ask you about that. And then I'd love for you to continue on. When you got to New York, did you find a scene similar to where you were, or at least what you were looking for, or what was that scene like when you arrived?
I will say honestly that I really got to New York and didn't know what had hit me. Yeah, because it was a time in New York where there was a lot going on that wasn't really what I did at my best as an artist. But I think it was a very fertile time and there was amazing music in New York. But I think the move was kind of a searching move. So when I got here, I had a lot of help because I had dear friends here one in particular, Mr. Robin Batteau, who introduced me to a lot of musicians who were in my first band here. But I think the New York scene then had quite the edge to it. And so I tried that hat on and I tried to go a little edgier because I loved the music. And it was sort of post the movement, the Patti Smith television. It was after that, but it was the aftermath of that, where everything in New York had that little bit of revolutionary spice to it. And although in my heart and in my political heart, I was drawn to it, I think musically, it took a few years for me as an artist, to go, this isn't quite right. But then the times changed and I met singer-songwriters who were trying to take that, what we now call Americana, and grow it into something, that worked in an urban environment, if you know what I mean. It was kind of my whole career has been about amalgamation. And that time was really that kind of thing. Like one of the artists who I was mingling with there were a lot of us, but was Shawn Colvin. And so when she and John Leventhal kind of found their amalgam, it was like, right, this is maybe where some of us can reside. You just need the right songs. But so it was a real searching time. And I think it was a searching decade for a lot of artists that could have ended up stayed in New England or gone to Nashville or Austin, but came to New York. And so that urban, kind of searching, we were all kind of looking around. But in the meantime, and I had, we all had bands going, right? But in the meantime, I had a couple of friends, one of them being my friend Robin and my friend Kenny White. We all moved from Boston together. There were a bunch of us. We're like, come on over here where that this advertising world where you can sing and you only have to, you go in for 3 hours and then you're done. And I remember, and there were kind of I don't want to say elite, but there weren't that many people with personality in their voice and their playing who also had the skills to work quickly. That's what we all needed to be in the studio business. And Robin said to me, you're going to like this business because yes means yes and no means no. Not like the record business that we were all trying to, insert ourselves into. And everyone in the room is like incredibly skilled and talented, and you're going to like it. And you're going to do well in it. So I kind of fell into that and then was surprised by how right he was, that you could, and you can always say no. You can always say, no, I can't make it, which I did several times when they said, we have a such and such spot. And I was like, I can't, I'm not singing about that.
Yeah.
So I got to make those calls a little bit. And it paid the bills while we were all trying to develop our art. Yeah. And Robin always reminded me, that Woody Guthrie did commercials, and if Woody could do it, then we can do it.
That's right.
I don't know. We kind of accepted that because it really did mean that at a certain point, I never felt pressure to work my personal music and my songwriting in some way to try to get. I never had to compromise. I just had to search for what was truly authentic for me. So maybe that I think of it as having taken a little longer than I had hoped to find that, but it was really worth that trade-off so that I didn't have to get on stage and do something that I didn't in that moment believe in. Yeah.
I think there's so much to being an artist, whether it's an ensemble singer, whatever it is, just the joy of being honest with yourself and getting to, like you said, not feel like you're compromising your integrity just to go make a paycheck or whatever, and I commend that you were able to still pay the bills, still say no to the things that you didn't necessarily believe in or want to go do, but still also be able to be creative, have creative outlets, and still push your art forward at the same time.
And some of the work as a background vocalist that I got, I never would have gotten if I hadn't been in if I hadn't been a session singer, because all those contacts and those circles came from that world.
Yeah, I see some of those names on your bio, and I mean, the Linda Ronstadt, Celine Dion, Rickie Lee Jones. I'd love to hear just a little bit about some of those experiences, because that had to have been incredible.
Yeah. Well, I will say that Celine was never there. Celine, her records were made in a different way, so that her producers. I don't know how much she was involved. I've never known, but she wasn't there on the background vocal sessions. But Linda, I had met Linda before, just coming up as a singer-songwriter, and you know people who know people, and you end up. And I always knew her to be a person of really great integrity. And that call was for when she was promoting her lullaby album. She did these covers from her history and did them as lullabies, and she was on a TV show, and so three of us got called to do the background vocals, and she was just Linda is just a very gracious and authentic person. Yeah, I'm not sure everybody knew that about her through the years, but I mean, unbelievably versatile. Talk about wearing many hats. She just set a great example for people like me. It's like, I can sing this, I can sing this, I can sing this, and I'm going to commit myself to each one of those things, which was really an inspiration to all of us. The big gig that has always meant the most to me is the Rickie Lee Jones gig.
Oh man, yeah.
Rickie had such a profound influence on me. When that first record came out, I was still living in Cambridge then, going to school. And when that first record came out, people were like, Janie, you need to hear her because she's doing what you're going after, and some of the same influences. And I just found her to be just such to me, she's an absolute genius. So when that call came to do Saturday Night Live with Rickie, to be honest, I think another gal was in the third slot. We think of, as freelance singers, we think of like the lanes that we sing in, and it was the great Patti Austin, who I did many jingles with, and equally great Lonnie Groves, and the person they often would sing with, Casey Sissick, a brilliant singer. She was out of town doing a Ford commercial.
Really?
Yeah. And so Lonnie said, well, we have to get Janie, because Janie has the Rickie Lee thing just totally tuned in, because Lonnie had heard my original stuff. So I just fell on the floor when I got that call. And it was really just the greatest couple of days of seeing her work and being able to sing with her and blend with her. And the band, of course, was phenomenal. It was really, I never set out to be a background vocalist, but I love that role as well. And being able to see and work alongside one of my idols, really, truly unforgettable. And that was a long time ago now. And I remember just every minute of it. Yeah.
That's amazing. A quick side note, you'll be pleased to know that last week, 2 weeks ago, I interviewed the great Steve Gadd for the podcast, who played drums on Chucky's in Love. And we didn't talk resume very much. We talked about a lot of other musical things, but
must have been amazing.
Yeah, that is still one of the greatest drum recordings. And that album, I'm With You, I still remember being a teenager hearing that album for the first time. And Last Chance Texaco is like, that's it for me.
Just a couple of days ago, I listened to that record. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of all your time as a background singer shaped your approach, or maybe adjusted your perspective when you were doing more singing out front as a lead singer? Do you think it maybe informed some different things?
I'll tell you how I feel like it informed, because the enjoyment of the role was to be on the team. And I mean, the skills it just feels great to blend with 2 or 3 singers and to serve the artist in whatever way they want to fulfill their vision, and to be, use your skills towards the team effort. And I love that feeling. And one of the biggest parts of the biggest enjoyment of being an artist and collaborating routinely with the same people is that team that team spirit. It's like, it's one of my favorite parts of being a musician is the collaboration. And so when I came, really, it's been in the last 10 years that I've been working consistently with the same people on my albums and, live as well, both my live projects. And that sense of understanding, making sure that everybody on the team has that same version of collaboration, that we're all striving for something together, creatively, technically. We respectfully collaborate. We respectfully, hey, wait a minute, what about this? I'm not sure that's exactly right, and I love the idea that my players know that they can bring their own voice to the collaboration in the room. That's really what I saw with all my favorite jobs as a background singer, including Rickie. Rickie didn't always have the best reputation as a band leader, so I'm told, but my experience for those 2-3 days was those players just adored her, were free to talk, explore together. She was gracious. She was wonderful, fun, so that role of being the background singer and sometimes being a fly on the wall, you're not voicing your opinion about, what's going on with the band when you're a background singer at that level, right? You're just being quiet and observing. But I think that modeling of collaborative, a positive collaborative environment is something I'm very proud of in my own projects.
Turn down the radio, I roll down the window. Maybe the turnpike's finally showing some sign of forgiveness. Drive me soothing, but this drought is hell. Maybe I bought too many stories about signs of forgiveness. How can I reach you? How can I keep myself patient this time? The stop and the go at Jersey's edge, ramping us slow to the Delaware Bridge.
I think that's so important, that whether you're, an ensemble member or you're the person leading the project, you always need to put yourself in the other person's shoes and make sure you are, the golden rule, right? You're treating those people the way that you would want to be treated if you were in their shoes, right? And I just think it's going to make the vibe, the quality of the project, it's just going to make it better if everyone is thinking in that way.
Absolutely. Mutual respect. It's true. It's every workplace, right?
Right.
Every workplace, a basketball team, for everything. And it's what, I'm a mother also. So it's what we're trying to, any classroom that I think is worth its salt. You're talking about collaboration with your friends. Yeah. Respect. Yeah. Collaboration. Yeah.
Anyone that talks about their children on the podcast, I typically ask this question. I just asked someone this the other day. Mm-hmm. How does being a parent, if you could put it into words, how do you think it's changed the way you are as a musician? Has it changed your for me, having children of my own, I just think I enjoy music on a deeper level. I think I put more heart into it.
Yeah.
What type of things if you could
Yeah.
quantify it, how would you say that?
Yeah. It's such a great question. Honestly, I've always said, because when I had my daughter, there was still a lot of session work going on, which was easy for me as a mother to do, no touring, no nothing like that. But any touring ideas or any touring opportunities, I turned down. And people are like, "Oh my God, that decade when so many things were happening, you turned down." But I turned down things happily. And I would say, I've always said that my songs got better when I became a mother. I actually, in my opinion, finally started writing what I considered to be good songs when I became a parent. And I can't tell you exactly why, just that, what happens, you're that much deeper into the human experience, so deep into the human experience. And what can I do for this other being? And I'll do anything for this other being. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of sense of willing sacrifice. And also you have to be darn creative to keep on your toes as a parent if you're going to be a good parent, So I think it really fostered that sense of being in the moment and seizing the moment. And also, by the way, I think your songs aren't so precious when and the work you're trying to do isn't so precious. And I think actually, as far as the creative process, that's a real positive, to not take yourself so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And also when you've got, when you have 2 hours, or, I remember like 4 hours when she was at her first preschool, it's like, you better get to work right now.
I know. The
and
clock's
don't
ticking.
mess around and like get on it, because she's going to be back. Yeah.
'Cause if you were here, I might ask for it all. Or maybe I'd ask for another shot. If you were here, I'd hold my breath 8 minutes to prove that you're mine. If you were here. If you were here, I'd hold my breath for a lifetime to prove that you're mine. It feels like you're mine, and I think we'd be fine if you were here.
I want to ask you about the Under My Skin project, the reimagining Cole Porter. Just incredible, and a very ambitious project that was executed so beautifully, by the way. So wonderful.
Yeah.
I would love to know what gave you that idea, and just that the process of making that project come to life.
Yeah. Well, as far as the origin, my father played a lot of music in the house. He was not a musician. My father was a journalist, but he played a lot of music in the house. And so I was exposed to a lot. So I like to tell the story that he brought home one day. He would just bring home LPs. And he brought home one day a Billie Holiday record, My Fair Lady, The Weavers, right?
Yeah.
And there was a fourth one. I used to say it was 3, but then I remembered it was 4. And Mommy, bring me a drink of water. So my head was like, jazz and theater. And so, and I heard Cole Porter at a really young age. I would remember being, I think maybe I was 10, and I saw High Society on TV, right? And that was, Cole wrote the score for that. So that was my first exposure, as well as all my exposure to the folk music. And I always thought that someday I would do a jazz record, like a straight jazz record. But what happened was 2 of my players and I were in the studio recording one of my songs, and I had brought in my back pocket a Cole Porter song, thinking if we have time, we'll just try one for the jazz record that I was going to do. So we did that. That was After You, the song After You. And then I was just at home holding my guitar going, And I was just messing around. I had a bunch of Cole songs in front of me thinking, I'm going to do this jazz record. And in the meantime, I had this little lick going. Thinking it was going to be one of my songs. And then I had that song, I've Got You Under My Skin, in front of me. And I was like, what if we retreat the song with around my acoustic guitar?
Don't you know you never can win? Use your mentality. Wake up to reality. Each time I do just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. You're under my skin. You're under my skin. Damn you. You're under my skin.
And then it just moved really fast because we did that. I did a track of just me and the guitar doing that song with my acoustic moves. I knew this was the version of Cole Porter because he was always my favorite composer of the American Songbook. And I started moving through all his songs and realizing that all my favorites could be kind of just, I always think of it as this movement. Let's just turn it a little and let's use all those instruments that I've always loved from the Americana and bluegrass world. And then something amazing happened, which is, and these ideas started during the pandemic, or maybe like a few months before the shutdown of March 2020, right? I have a friend in Nashville, Carmela Ramsey.
Oh, yes.
She's
wonderful. Yeah.
She's one of my besties.
Really? She's
yeah.
amazing.
And I called her and I said, I have this track and it needs you and Jerry Douglas. And she said, well, I can get you Jerry. And she did. So I went down to Nashville. It was like one of those periods where it seemed kind of like the fear during the pandemic had lifted. And we spent the day with Jerry, and he played on several tracks. And then he really opened the door to all the Nashville players who were so many, just heroic in my book, just like this incredible dream list of players. And some of my friends here, and and the Nashville people and Bill Frisell, who lives down the road. And what was so fascinating was because all these players were home, not touring. And they were excited to play on sessions. Some of them were in their homes, and some of them were like little project studios where everybody felt like they were safe. And the great thing about that project, first of all, they all had those skills to move over into and read the Cole Porter charts, and that, they're all incredible musicians. And they all knew, a lot of them knew each other, and they were kind of tickled to play to their friends who were not in the room. We've all come up doing some of that in the age of the technology, but it was just kind of mesmerizing how they worked off of each other without being live in the room together. Yeah. And it just one song after another, and it kind of happened pretty, a record like that, which is an hour long, I don't know, we finished it in like 3 years, and that's a lot of songs for, I don't know, I thought it would take much longer is what I said. It was, people were so excited to jump in and play. Yeah. I just can't imagine. I just can't tell you how proud I am of bringing all those people together on that project. Not just that I arranged these songs in a way that worked, in a way that I wanted to see them sing them, but also these just like iconic players from that world coming together on the tracks. Yeah.
I love all of it. I love the duet that you did with Keith Sewell.
Oh, yeah.
So good. So good.
Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun. Whether near to me or far, it's no matter, darling, where you are. I think of you night and day.
Day and night. Why is it so that this longing for you follows wherever I go? In the roaring traffic's boom, in the silence of my lonely room, I think of you night and day.
He's
And that band with Victor Krause and Sierra Hull, and it's so good. And the thing I was so struck by was that you could take the text and the changes of those songs and put it with that cast of characters, and you would never know that it wasn't written for that, because the content of those compositions are so strong that they could move to any style, any genre of music and still work. It worked beautifully.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's obviously the testament to his genius. And I think also we did it the right way, because I started, and that song, Night and Day, the duet with Keith Sewell, was my guitar. It started on my guitar. That was the whole idea, that we were going to start, not all the songs, but some of these arrangements with the center was going to be the acoustic guitar. And that I remember when I talked to Sierra Hull on the phone, and she was like, she's She's such a lovely person. She was just sort of stunned by what was going on. Stuart Duncan also on that. And I said, the budget on this album is not that big. And she said, well, Janie, you're giving me an opportunity to play with my friends, even though right now I can't really play with my friends. So it was like,
That's
okay,
amazing.
let's go. Yeah.
I love it. Well, and I just commend you for having the vision and having just the forethought and the guts to say this is going to work, and it did. I mean, it's something that most people wouldn't have the courage to even consider doing, and then to bring on that cast of characters to make it happen. I mean, it's an incredible project. I'm blown away by it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I like to think of myself as a courageous person, but I think most artists in any ilk would say, you're just driven to try something out of curiosity and the love for it. And if you're lucky, you get to keep going, because you keep being curious. And as I said, I got really lucky because this was ready to happen during the pandemic. And I got lucky because my friends opened the door. For it. Yeah, to keep going. That's the thing. We all have kind of fun ideas, and it's like, "Ooh, I wonder if this would work." And then when it works a little, you go, "I can keep going now."
Yeah, it's amazing. Did that experience change anything for you as a songwriter, or just digging into the material? Did it kind of adjust the course for you? I'd love to hear how that happened.
Honestly, I think I wrote some of my very best songs while I was working on that album. Yeah, that went on the album of mine that came out or kind of around the same time. Yeah. I just, you're in the presence of greatness with those songs. And my songs don't sound like Cole's, but it's that heart of the storytelling and the not to get in the weeds, but Cole loves half steps and all the melodic work that he does really influenced me. So it influenced me musically, and also just that the sheer heartbreak. And sometimes I think farther in my past of songwriting, I was not willing to get that vulnerable in my songs quite yet. And so when I got immersed in the Cole songs, it just like, when you're doing a vocal, which a lot of them I did write in this, actually all of them I did write in this little room. When you're singing the vocal and you're crying while you're singing the vocal, it's like, oh, I really should be writing songs of my own that make me cry, So it really challenged me I absolutely think I started writing, just like I started writing better songs when my daughter was born. It went up another notch with this project. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you have a process? Do you have a kind of a routine as a writer? Writing regularly, writing on a schedule? Are you a lyrics first, music second, or does it vary based on the inspiration?
For me, it does vary. Like all writers, I have ideas that I get down in a notebook, whenever they come. And sometimes it's one line, or it's something I heard literally on the radio on WNYC, some phrase, and it was like, there's an idea there I want to explore. And then also you just sit around on your couch noodling on your instrument. So it could start with either. The thing I can say is that I used to kind of believe in a really rigorous work ethic schedule. And I do think, friends I have who are fiction writers, they always talk about the writing hours. The first part of the day, your writing hours, and then you step back and blah, blah, blah. And I've had periods like that. But I also, and with my students, I was always pushing the idea of, well, you're onto something. So you're going to tell me you're now going to go out to dinner? No, stay home and dig in, And there is a time for that. But what I have found in the last few years is I serve my creativity better when I know when to stop and step back. It's like, ooh, that was good. And maybe I have a verse and half a chorus or a few lines, or I get something recorded in the voice memo. It might be like 5-6 minutes or sometimes 10 minutes of exploring an idea. And then it's like, step back, because if you keep going, you're going to be trying too hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to that. And I have a childhood friend who's a painter, and she's hours in her studio, but she's not painting that whole time. She's stepping back and she's like wandering around the studio. And I think for me, I've found that that's my leaning in too hard was not giving me my best work. And now it's sort of a know when to, whether it's do the dishes or walk around the block and then come back and pick it up again. So the sessions are like, if I go in a file of a song, there's going to be like 15 versions, just because the next time I sit down, I make it the next version, not because I've written the whole song and then I revise it each time. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I have a friend, wonderful singer-songwriter, Cliff Eberhardt, and when he was asked about his songwriting process, he said, unfocus. And there's something to that. Yeah. Don't try too hard,
I think I absolutely agree. And I think having those moments to distance yourself, either literally or figuratively, of what you're working on,
Yeah.
can spark maybe another inspiration, or maybe it can just give you a moment to step back and think, maybe I'm thinking too closely on this and I just need to adjust my lens for a moment.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a Steinbeck fan, and every year I reread Cannery Row and Sweet Thursday, which are companion novels, two of his small novels. And so I read, there's a book out of him called Working Days of he kept a journal when he was writing The Grapes of Wrath, and come to understand, I mean, he tortured himself, of course, but that he wrote like 2 pages, sometimes 1 or 2 pages a day. And then he was done, and I've never forgotten that. It's like, some days you're going to lean into a song for 6 hours, but it's kind of good if you know when to step back and breathe with it. It's kind of new agey concept, but
no, I agree with you. Yeah.
Breathe with the material, or walk around and think about what you just did.
You're sublime.
You certainly are.
Yeah, turkey dinner.
You're the time, baby, of the derby winner.
I'm a toy balloon that is fate soon to pop. But if baby I'm the bottom, you're the top.
I'd love to hear about your role at Berkeley, because you are you an adjunct faculty member at Berkeley?
For some reason, Berkeley doesn't call it adjunct, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm there 2 days a week. Yeah. And they give me, I've been doing it 20 years. And they give me, I'm officially in the voice department, so I do teach some voice technique, but I also I get a lot of singer-songwriters as my private students, so I get to really mentor them in their songwriting process. And I also teach some ensembles, 2 ensembles for songwriters. One is if they're going to play solo, one is if they're going to arrange for a band. And then a third thing, which is to help them understand how to work with a band and how to notate their ideas. You have ideas as an arranger, whether it's your song or a cover song. How do you get that on paper? So I love all the different roles. I had to teach sight reading for a lot of years, and I finally mutinied and said, I'm done.
I'm done with that.
That was because, I was brought to Berkeley. I was invited to teach at Berkeley because of my singer-songwriter life, my producer, arranger life, and my jingle singing. So those skills, all those skills. And I'll tell you honestly, I've always taught since I, first was coming up in Boston, Cambridge. I've always done a little teaching, but I never expected I would be quite so committed and excited about the teaching work. I just thought it would be something I would enjoy and I would be good at. And, it's a nice thing to do on the side. And, but the last few years have been so rewarding to work with the students. And again, all that time happened when I was really doing my best work as an artist. So I think it's a little bit of a cliche, but I really I've gotten back just as much as I've given.
That's
with that.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at a school and work with children every day, and I get it. I think being around the energy of people that are the next generation, or the people that look to you for advice or inspiration or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating, and it refills your tank.
It totally does refill your tank. That's well put. Yeah.
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 So if you've been there for that long, I would love to hear about if you've noticed anything in the span of the typical music students in that amount of time, and have you seen a shift because of technology or maybe social media?
Right.
Have you seen a change in the young musicians?
Yeah. Anyone who's at Berkeley and in my studio or my classes are very committed to something, but to having a life in music. But they don't all want to be stars on stage at all. Some of them want to be songwriters. Some of them want to write music for film. Berkeley is now offering just a huge array of disciplines. So there's something, and some of them are out there. I have one student I'm watching all the time on Facebook. She's a music therapist, has had just a fascinating life as a music therapist. The thing, to your point, the point of your question really is social media. We didn't have to deal with that. And we had to deal with other things sniffles. We had to deal with other things as far as the music business being, such a monkey on our back, the business side being such a monkey on the back of everybody who wants to just do their art, right? But the pressure they feel to, at such a young age, have it all together and release music, even if, they didn't necessarily think they were ready, but they got to get something out, and working the social media and doing like TikTok videos every day. That pressure that we all really kind of know how harmful it can be. But for these musicians, sometimes they love it because they find it fun. So it's not a chore. Most of them are feeling like tremendous pressure. This is what I see that I never saw before, that can maybe, and pressure sometimes even from their parents. Like one student who I think is so talented, pressure from her parents, like, you got to get those TikTok things out.
Oh
it's
my
like,
goodness.
I know. It's hard. And so, a lot of times my job when they're asking me for guidance is, obviously I can't tell them how to make a TikTok video that will, get 500,000 hits. No, that's not something I'm going to be good at. But I do feel it's my job to keep reminding them of why why they've chosen this path, and that they need to try to stay in touch with what their dream really was, and try to stay tuned in to whatever their authentic voice is. Again, a bit of a cliche, but it's really like I so many times I'm telling you, it's like, I guarantee you will not be happy if you figure out something to do that's going to get you all the hits that you're not actually comfortable with. That's going to come back to bite you. Yeah.
I completely agree. I
Yeah.
just spoke with Stash Weislouch. I don't know if you know him. He teaches guitar. He teaches some guitar at Berkeley as well.
Okay.
And it's so interesting to me to hear you both basically explain the same thing that you're seeing there about the pressure
Yeah.
that these students feel. Some of it self-inflicted, some of it just the culture of feeling the responsibility of always releasing content, for better or
Yes.
for worse. And that it just like as you were saying before, you have to take a pause, you have to step back.
Wow.
And I worry that this next generation of musicians, they need to take a moment from that and take a break from it and
Right.
and feel inspiration before feeling the need to constantly
Yeah.
just be releasing content.
Yeah. And I think also what we were talking about earlier about collaboration, because one thing Berkeley can be wonderful about, or any community like that, is meeting your people, right?
Right.
It's like they get to Berkeley and they go, finally, I'm with my tribe,
Yeah.
And I'm always encouraging them to get out of their room where they're isolated. That's good too, but get in a room with other musicians. Make you're meeting your people that could be your lifelong compadres in your life in music. So make sure you're out there looking for your people in a real way and collaborating and doing live shows. Because in the end, what are we saying? We're all saying that recorded content is obviously beautiful. There's nothing I love, more than making records. But we know that people are not buying that much music. They don't have to. But what they do still love to do is go and hear live music. And so I'm always reminding them, if you're not comfortable with that because you came up in the recording world, and you may not get a song in the next, big movie, get out and play and build that love of playing. That's why I love so much about the bluegrass and Americana world. Those people are out there playing all the time and they have happy smiles on their faces. And they've been doing that since they were 6.
That's right.
Yeah.
And those festivals that you're talking about, going to bluegrass festivals, I remember going to them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And just the sense of community. And boy, do we need a sense of community now more than ever, right? And
totally.
you just need to find your people and build a community together, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Before we go, Janie, I would just love to hear what you have going on at the moment and what the time ahead in the next year or so looks for you. What's on the horizon?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Well, I've been taking a break from shows for a bunch of months now to write more material, and I'm writing a bunch of songs, but also I am finally going to release the Cole Porter project on vinyl.
Oh, so beautiful.
I'm hoping what we're cooking up now is a show in New York to coincide with Cole's birthday in June and his 135th birthday, and release the vinyl and see what I can do. I with getting a little more attention for that project than I did when I first released it, which was, I think, I succeeded in the project that I wanted to create, the piece of art I wanted to create, but I did not succeed in terms of leaving my house and promoting, getting whatever I need to do on the business side. So with the release of the vinyl, I'm going to try to put that hat on, get some help, and maybe get that vinyl out to some other countries and think about how we could take that project to play in whatever, Tokyo, or, just get out and play some more. And then hopefully sometime next year I'll have enough songs finished to release another record of my own. But the Cole project, talk about songs that should be in films, it's something with the release of the vinyl. We're going to try to embrace that idea and just spread the gospel of Cole and all those fantastic, Americana instrumentalists that are on the record, and so everybody can hear it. Yeah. So right now that's my main focus. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then but at the center of that album is your amazing singing. Let's not forget that. It's, the songs are great. The instrumental performances are great, but your vocal is that's the magic. So
appreciate that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Janie, it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. I'm so glad thanks Paul for introducing us.
Yeah.
And I'm such a fan of everything you do, and I just wish you all the best.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this conversation so much. I like talking to people. Who doesn't like talking about themselves? But I feel so happy for all these what you brought in, your knowledge and your appreciation for what we all do.
Thanks for the music, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. And you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow or subscribe to the Bandwidth Tapes wherever you listen, and consider leaving a rating or review. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.